What's going on, team? It's your boy G, aka Janato Sensei. We back at it again with another episode of Janato Explain, man. Today's episode, we're gonna be talking about the MCU, the timeline, and the multiverse. But before we do, I need you guys to do one huge favor for me. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and any bit of support is greatly appreciated. You could be watching anything on YouTube right now, but you decided to check this video out. So I appreciate y'all, and without further ado, let's get into the video. Alright guys, so after watching the most recent episode of Loki, man, it really got me to thinking, like, how does the MCU really, deal with the multiverse and time? Like, I thought at some point in this we would get like an actual reference to the multiverse, but pretty much Loki's series is breaking down how time works. So we got the main timeline that we all known and grown to love, which is like all of the MCU movies in order, and everything else that happens outside of that being the different variants that we've grown to know, like Sylvie, and all the different variants of Loki are just that, variants, right? And at first, I used to think that multiverse theory meant that there was another version of yourself, right? And this is not law, this is just what I'm thinking at this moment. This could change with the new movies coming out and stuff like that, but just after a long time of just watching these movies and stuff, like, it dawned on me, like, me and the homie Chris actually broke it down after we finished the episode, that I think the multiverse is going to end up just being different dimensions, because we know that Wanda is, and by Wanda I mean Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, is a Nexus being, so that means there are no other variants of Wanda in any other timeline, right? And we know that variants are people that broke off of the sacred timeline in whatever way that they saw fit, or did intentionally or not, and it was the TVA's job and responsibility to right those wrongs, or quote unquote wrongs, right? And the people in charge of the TVA are the timekeepers. So like I was saying, initially I used to think that the multiverse had to do with people, but after watching Loki and seeing how what I thought were different versions of Loki that existed in different universes were actually just different timelines. So that being said, I think that the multiverse is actually going to deal with different dimensions, such as the underworld, the astral plane, where T'Challa met back up with T'Chaka, to talk to his father and stuff like that, where his ancestors live. I think that is part of the multiverse. And then you also have where Dormammu lives, which we haven't really gotten to yet, which I'm sure we'll get to in the new Doctor Strange movie. Those are separate planes and separate dimensions that are easy to digest as the multiverse rather than variants. So the reason why I say that is because in this episode we found out that when people get pruned, when variants get pruned, they don't die initially. They're not just straight up vaporized. They get sent to a planet where the timekeepers have this beast or whatever that basically kills everything, right? So Loki is the only living thing that has been able to escape and live in, I guess you can say, prosper, depending on how you look at it, from being pruned, right? Loki's always survived. That's something that has stood the test of time. So when I found that out, right, and I found out that this is not necessarily a different version of Loki, this is still Loki, but their Nexus events caused them to step out of line. TVA had to come and pick them up. I realized that, this is not really a multiverse in that sense. This is more of just explaining how time works, because at the end of the day, all these variants are doing is living their life, right? But it's timekeepers who are actually picking and choosing who gets to do what and what is going to be acceptable. Like Captain America, being able to not only bring all the stones, but also go back to his original time and live out his life with the love of his life, because once they defeated Thanos, there was nothing left for him to do. He could go back peacefully, live out his life, pass on the shield to Sam. And then you also have Gamora, you know, who originally gets thrown off the cliff by Thanos. And you could say that where he was a place between places, because when she died, you know, that left room for past Gamora to take her place in the main timeline, so that didn't affect it either. But in Loki's case, by him stealing the Tesseract, us finding out that Loki's ultimate path is for him to die by the hands of Thanos, that stepped off the accorded timeline, and that's why the Timekeeper sent the TVA after him. So originally, when I thought that, you know, Loki was going to be able to be another version of himself, he doesn't have to worry about that, because after he got picked up, everything basically gets frozen in time and gets sent back, so the Nexus event ends up subsiding, and then the main timeline is stable again. So with examples like that, that got me to thinking that, you know, multiverse theory isn't necessarily like different versions of yourself, like in the DCU where they have, you know, Earth 1, Earth 2, Earth 92, and all these different Earths. But instead of that, we have variants. And since all the variants get captured and taken away, there's only one timeline. Now, with that being said, you could say that the Timekeepers are actually stopping the multiverse from happening. That's one thing that Chris has said while we were, you know, talking about it, which I think could be a thing. Like, the Timekeepers are definitely not good guys, but I can't say they're necessarily bad guys either, at least not all three of them. You know, we all know about Kang the Conqueror and stuff like that, but that necessarily hasn't been explored just yet. So there's still a lot to, you know, be seen and be heard, but I think that once we start getting some real concrete answers to, like, you know, a lot of these questions in the movies, that we'll really get a better understanding of, you know, how the MCU really works. Because in the comics, you know, they go through this type of stuff all the time and it's written out there, but, you know, there's not necessarily like one canon that you can go by unless it's like the original writers or like Stan Lee or whatever. Whereas with the MCU, you know, we have one specific story that everything is following. So I guess, you know, it all makes sense. It kind of can get confusing. Even me making this video, I try not to confuse myself, because just off of one tangent and one loophole, you know, you can go on a crazy journey. But I'm excited just to see, you know, what really happens. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of, you know, what I've said so far, and let me know your guys' theories of, you know, what you think is going to happen. I really think that these shows that Marvel has dropped in these series are really just bridges to these new movies. Hopefully we get something at the end of the next episode to let us know, you know, where we're going after this. But I honestly think that might be the House of Madness. I don't know. But that's all I really got for this episode of Janato Explain. I don't really know what I'm going to title this thing, but hopefully the title I came up with was smooth. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think, and I'm going to catch you on the next one, man. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Like I said, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. If you like content like this, you know, stick around. But other than that, man, I'm going to catch y'all later. Y'all know the vibes. Always keep growing, keep going, speak, G. I'm out. Peace.